Hey, yo, what's going on, world? It's your homeboy Cuff,
And your girl T.
and we are the Unusual Monsters True Crimes Podcast. Sorry for the wait. We got to get back on track ever since the little vacation we had, and for the holidays and everything been falling off. But we back for part 3 of the 3-part series, which is the Toolbox Killers, right?
Yep.
All right, for sure. So we already got into part 1 was more about more of a description of the people, personality wise, and kind of their upbringing a little bit. Part 2 was a lot of their crimes, and I think we also talked about like no convictions yet, right?
No, we ain't got into
That's
that.
part 3.
So yeah, that's part 3. So we're talking about Bittaker and Norris. So
yeah. So part 3, we get into more to our Bittaker and Norris as far as the prosecution, right? And
how they got
investigation,
caught.
how they got caught, so forth and so on. So it's the ending of the story. You know what I'm saying? The scenario. We gonna hop into right now. So what you got for us?
With no further ado. In November 1979, Norris would be in touch with an old friend named Joseph Jackson, an individual with whom he had previously been in prison with.
Joe Jackson. Hell no.
In prison with at the California Men's Colony. Norris would tell Jackson about he and Bittaker's crimes, if you will, of over the past 5 months, including graphic details of the murder of Shirley Ledford, the only victim whose body had been found at the time. Norris also told Jackson that in addition to the 5 murders he and Bittaker had committed, there had been 3 additional incidents in which he and Bittaker had abducted or attempted to abduct young women who, who had either escaped or, in one instance, had actually been raped but released. Guess they had a bit of a heart. Because if y'all go back and watch the other one, that was like all the crimes and how horrible.
Yeah, I was surprised to hear that she was released because they killed everyone else, right?
Yeah, but remember before then they did quite a few test runs on some females, you know. Horrible people. Y'all gotta go back and watch that second part. That's all the juicy stuff. After hearing Norris's confessions.
Hey, but real quick, I always got to announce when it's cracking off. For those who are not watching the YouTube video, once we hit the 2-minute mark, it is time for that.
Mary Jane. Woo.
Let's get it.
Okay, now. Sparkle.
There we go.
We got to get consistent again, y'all. It's coming. After hearing Norris's confessions, Jackson would tell his attorney, who advised him to authorities. Jackson agreed, and he and his attorney informed the LA police. So Jackson was snitching. LA Police Department.
6'9".
But this is a good thing, no. It was for the cause, like thank the fuck God, you know. Who in turn would tell the Himarosa Beach Police about the 2 men. I hope I'm saying that right. Yeah. Himarosa Beach detective named Paul Bunyan was assigned to.
Wait, that's his name, Paul Bunyan?
I'm probably saying it wrong, but Bynum.
Yo, this story got too many. All right, go ahead.
I'm gonna call him Paul B because I ain't got time. Sorry, sir. Was assigned to investigate the claims that Jackson and his attorney had reported. So Paul B would note that Jackson's statements as to Norris's confessions did match reports of the file of several teenage girls who had been reported missing over the previous 5 months. So now they putting the pieces together, you know. But keep in mind, this is in the 70s, almost 80s, 79. So once again, it's kind of like word of mouth. They just gotta.
Yeah, they don't got forensics like that yet.
So, in addition, Norris had confided to Jackson where he claimed he and Bittaker had sprayed mace in the face of a woman who had been dragged into Bittaker's GMC van, Murder Mac, and raped by both men, matched a report filed in relation to an incident that occurred on September 30th. In this report, a young woman named Robin Robeck had mace sprayed in her face before being dragged into a van and raped by 2 white men in their mid-30s before being let go. Although Robeck had reported the abduction and rape to police, they had been unable to identify the assailants.
I always say, but when the further you go back, the more capable people were of just getting away with like any and every crime. You know what I mean? Like even like robbing banks at one point was probably like something. If you actually got out the bank, you had a good chance of getting away. You know what I mean? Like, and murder was especially like you think about the movie like Life.
You could be sloppy as hell.
You know what I mean? It was so easy to like even as a cop, you can like as a cop you can kill someone
And
and
really
put
get
it
away with
on
it.
like you know what I mean, like easily back then because it was like it's
You can
word of
go right
mouth,
at
and if the cop word's gonna be over whoever else is. So yeah, it's like very unfortunate back in the day. People can lose life and just there be no consequences
like
ever.
the best thing that America we could have came up with is the fingerprint system. Like I
Yeah,
swear for Lord,
forensics.
that's probably
Yeah.
like the best thing. Okay, but Mary Jane. Paul B was sent an investigator to visit Rowick at her home in Oregon to show her some mugshots. Without hesitation, Roebuck positively ID'd two photos presented to her as those of the men who had kidnapped and raped her on September 30th. So now we're going to get into the arrests. Catch these fuckers. The Himarosa Beach Police placed Norris under surveillance upon linking Bittaker and Norris to the rape of Robin Roebuck. Within days, they observed his dealing in Mary Jane. On November 20th, 1979, Norris was arrested by the Himarosa Beach Police for parole violation. That same day, at the Burbank Motel where he resided, Bittaker was arrested for the rape of Robin Roebuck. Even
Mm.
oh,
Go ahead. You good?
okay.
Go ahead.
Even though Robick had ID mugshots of Bittaker and Norris, she was unable to positively identify her assailants in a police lineup. So I'm gonna say maybe she was on some drugs or something. Because what the fuck? But anywho,
Wait, so when she seen the picture, she knew
she
who
was
it
able
was.
right away.
When they put him in the lineup, she looked around like she wasn't sure who
Yeah,
he
and it
was.
could have been maybe they changed their look a
Y'all
little
gonna
bit
say he
over
probably changed his
time. You
look,
know,
maybe.
maybe. Yeah.
And then if it was like a good amount of years span from when it happened to
When they actually got caught,
yeah,
possibly.
because they might have aged. You know what I
Yeah, they
mean?
was
So
already in their 30s too. So when
right.
this happened, where nonetheless, police had observed Norris selling drugs, whereas Bittaker had been in possession of drugs at the time of his arrest. Both were held on charges of parole violation.
So really, the parole violation
This
was
is what held them up,
kind of what held him up to
at least,
being caught for
yeah,
real.
to be in
Yeah,
jail, so they had a reason not to let him go at least, while they
yeah.
figured some shit out. A search of Bittaker's apartment revealed several Polaroid pictures of both Hall and Gillum, both of whom had been reported as missing earlier the same year. Inside Bittaker's van, police found a sledgehammer, a plastic bag filled with lead weights, a book detailing
What?
how to locate police radio frequencies, a jar of Vaseline, two necklaces. They were later confirmed as belonging to two of the victims. A tape recording of a young woman in obvious distress, screaming and reportedly pleading for mercy while being tortured and sexually abused. Gotta go back to part two because that shit was horrible. Um,
If you
oof,
have not watched part one and part two, you really should go
oof,
back and watch it because I mean, like
oof.
part three. If you're only seeing part three, you have no
Yeah,
idea.
you lost in the sauce.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
lost. You have no idea of the severity of the things that these men were doing. You know what I mean? So you got to really go back and watch part one and part two. If you don't watch all part three, make sure you watch. Well, matter we named some things they did in part one and part two, huh?
Yeah, so
You
part
got to watch the
one,
whole
yeah,
thing.
like the criminal, their pre-story, backstory is so fucking
Yeah,
filled. We only got that in part one, but I
right.
will say real quick, they do have the recordings. You could go find them on YouTube if you care to listen to that. It is available on YouTube. I mean, I don't advise it; it's horrible, horrible
Right.
shit. But yeah, the mother of Ledford, who would be the one to ID her daughter's voice on the recording. The voices of the two men heard making Ledford on the recording I'm sorry, mocking Ledford on the recording, would be confirmed as Norris and Bittaker.
These niggas is so. And when y'all hear that mocking on the recording, like I know y'all probably like, you know what I mean? Like, everybody know what mocking is, but you got to really hear
The
the way they
things
was
he was
doing it, the
saying.
detail, the things he was saying. You know what I mean? In part
Like,
one and part two. So I don't even want to
yeah.
sit right here. I'm trying to get y'all to go check out part one and part two. To be honest with you, but
Yeah.
y'all definitely need to go back and check those out to get more in detail to understand the things that they were doing. But go ahead.
All right. Also found in Bittaker's motel were 7 bottles of various acidic materials. So they had acid. I don't know. I never said they used that, but yeah. Police would later discover Bittaker planned on using the acidic materials upon their next victim. So they was about to get into some shit. Ugh.
It was for the upgrade there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ugh. Inside Norris's apartment, police discovered a bracelet he had taken from Ledford's body as a souvenir. That's always creepy. That's just always when they take souvenirs, make it like top tier creepy and worse. I don't know. Also found in the homes of both Norris and Bittaker were almost 500 Polaroid pics of teenage girls and women most of which had apparently been taken at Redondo Beach and Humarosa Beach, with others taken by Bittaker at Burbank High School. Shit.
Damn.
Most of the pics taken were took without the girl's knowledge or consent. So creep vibe, stranger, fucking danger. Now we're gonna get into confessions. I wrote this a little while ago, so I can't really remember how detailed this is, but I'm gonna just go ahead throw on a viewer and listener discretion, just in case. All right. On November 30th, 1979, Norris attended a preliminary hearing in relation to the September 30 rape. At this point, Norris would begin to show visible signs of stress. He also would waive his Miranda rights before detectives and the deputy district attorney could start questioning him about the rape of Robin Rovick.
So
Bitch
he
ass
basically
niggas.
was like, his raised around. He was like, fuck it. He'll tell whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He ain't give it down.
Like, I mean, at this point, I feel like they just knew they were caught. Like,
yeah.
Anyway.
But you know, some people still try to lie their way through it and try to make it say it wasn't as bad as it was or whatever. He raised this shit. That mean he just like, okay, whatever, let's get it, right?
Yeah.
That's...
Initially, but you know what? I will say they like to brag about these things. He really didn't give a fuck because they wanted to be like this. They kind of were like this was. He bragged. They ain't had no problem talking about it.
I hope I'm not getting the stories mixed up. I hope when I say this, but wasn't one of these guys? It might be something we was watching. We got so much true crime type shit. Our listeners been listening to it too. One of these guys said that they wanted to be famous, right?
I don't think they said
was
that.
Was it not this guy?
It wasn't in this.
Okay,
story,
it might have been a
but
different story or something.
Gives off this because they're so open about the shit that they did, and they're so excited to tell people. So yeah. Oh shit, where are they? Initially, Norris flat out denied any involvement in any murders, rape, and disappearances. However, when confronted with the evidence, Norris began to confess. He attempted to put more of the blame on Bittaker, as always. Norris would say that he and Bittaker,
no honor amongst thieves.
Okay, and they was the homies,
criminals,
for real.
Whatever you want.
Had a habit of driving around the Pacific Coast Highway and randomly approaching girls whom they found attractive with offers of a ride, posing for photos or Mary Jane. Most of the women would turn them down except the 4 that took the offers, and the 5th victim was by force. Norris would then go into the detail of how the women were overpowered, bound, gagged, driven to steep locations in the San Gabriel Mountains where they would be raped and murdered by strangulation with a wire coat hanger. Norris admitted to bludgeoning their youngest victim, while Bittaker strangled her and admitted to reportedly striking Shirley Ledford in the elbow before strangling her to death. He also said that the act of torture was simply, and I quote, done for fun.
Man.
Go ahead, you guys.
No, go ahead.
Norris would agree to take the police out to the San Gabriel Mountains to find the remains of the victims that he had confessed to.
These men is like,
yeah. In each instance, Norris brought detectives to the area where he and Bittaker had disposed of their victims' bodies. Despite extensive searches of the areas, the bodies of Schaefer and Hall were never found. On February 9th, 1980, the skeletal remains of Lamp and Gillum were found at the bottom of a canyon alongside a dry riverbed. The bodies were scattered over an area measuring hundreds of feet in diameter. An ice pick was lodged in the skull of Gillum. In February 1980, Norris and Bittaker were finally charged with the murders of the 5 girls. At the arraignment, Bittaker was denied bail, whereas Norris' bail was set at $10,000. Within 1 month of his being charged with murder, Norris accepted a plea bargain in which he would testify against Bittaker. They always do. In return for the prosecution agreeing not to seek the death penalty against him. And we talked about this where we feel like motherfuckers should ride in jail.
Yeah, and also him even getting a plea deal at all to me is a little weird. Like they had them back to the wall, like they were caught. They had enough evidence to lock them both up, but maybe they were hung up on giving them the death penalty for both of them. But then dude say, "Hey, why give you more information? You take it off the table for me."
I mean, at this point,
but I don't.
Their criminal history is so extensive. Like I just feel like there still shouldn't even been an offer. But
I don't really get that.
Been on the table,
but they I guess. Well, you know what it is though. And we gotta remember, like families be wanting peace to know what happened to these missing victims, right? So like, so it'd be certain ones that be like, they probably
hoping
didn't
they'll.
know for sure that they
It was two
killed.
bodies they didn't find.
Right. So they was like, hey, well, look, I give you them some, give them families, their family some peace if you take the death penalty off the table for me. And that you know what? That's actually understandable. I get it. I get it. I get it. For those families, I get it. I get it. And honestly, like we said before, though, I'd rather a person rot in prison rather than get the death penalty.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because then, like to me, you're getting lucky if you get the death penalty.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's a little crazy to me, but
On April 24th, 1980, Bittaker was arraigned on 29 charges of kidnapping, rape, sodomy, and murder, in addition to various charges of criminal conspiracy and possession of a firearm. He was also charged with 2 counts of conspiracy to commit murder dating from December 1979, in which he had unsuccessfully attempted to persuade 2 inmates due to be released to murder Robin Robeck. So he tried to get her killed to keep her from testifying against him at trial. That's the one that couldn't identify him. The charges for the rape of Robin would be dropped due to lack of physical evidence, as well as Roebuck's failing to ID her attackers in a lineup. That sucks.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, that sucks. When asked by Judge Hollingsworth how he pleaded, Bittaker remained silent, so the judge entered a plea of not guilty on his behalf. Now we're going to get into the trial. Bittaker's trial began on January 19th, 1981. The star witness to appear for the prosecution of that at that trial was Norris. I laugh because yeah, who
Yeah,
began
dude, he was running with.
yeah
Yeah,
who began his testimony on January 22nd. Norris testified how he and Bittaker became acquainted in jail and how the two came up with a plan to kidnap, rape, and kill teenage girls.
he wasn't telling everything just to
Okay,
go from a death penalty to life sentence, or maybe he didn't get a life. Maybe he didn't get life.
we shall see.
I doubt it, but we'll see.
Responding to questions from the prosecutor, Norris stated that in June 1979, he had unsuccessfully attempted to abduct and rape a woman who escaped unharmed. When he informed Bittaker of this incident, they both agreed to act together on all future abductions. So they like, fuck that shit, no witnesses. Norris then chronologically, I hope, recounted for the court the details of each of the 5 murders he and Bittaker had committed, in addition to the September 30th, 1979 rape of Robick, the attempted abduction of a woman named Jan Mallon, which had also occurred on September 30th, and the attempted abduction of an unidentified young woman on September 27th. They just like don't waste no time. Fuck. In reference to the actual murders, Norris stated that after he unsuccessfully attempted to strangle Schaefer, Bittaker had strangled her with a wire coat hanger. The pair had then thrown her body into a location at or near the San Dimas Canyon. In reference to the murder of Hall, Norris stated he had been told by Bittaker to drive to a nearby store to purchase alcohol, and when Hall was murdered, after which he returned to find Bittaker smiling and holding the Polaroid pictures he had taken of Hall after informing her he had intended to kill her. When asked about victims Lamp and Gillum, Norris stated that the 2 girls were held captive for, and I quote, over a day before being killed, adding that Bittaker had killed Gillum before he himself bludgeoned Lamp about the head as Bittaker strangled her. When discussing the abuse and torture of Ledford, Norris stated that he had, upon the insistence of Bittaker, committed the actual murder of Ledford, adding Bittaker had informed him, and I quote, that I should kill her because I hadn't killed anyone yet, end quote. I know this was coming, so I agreed. After killing Ledford, Norris then stated the pair had driven to Sunland, where he discarded Shirley Ledford's body upon the front lawn as Bittaker waited in his van. Several witnesses testified as to Bittaker's having shown them a pic of the victims he had kept as keepsakes and which had been found in his motel. One witness, a 17-year-old neighbor of Bittaker's named Christina Drell, testified that Bittaker had shown her a Polaroid picture he had taken of Gillum before stating, and I quote, the girls I get won't talk anymore, end quote. Drell also would say Bittaker had once played a cassette tape which she heard 2 girls screaming and Bittaker laughing. Another witness, Lloyd Douglas, who had shared a cell with Bittaker, testified that Bittaker had talked about the torture of Gillum and Lamp to him. stating Bittaker had informed him he had stabbed one of Gillum's breasts with the ice pick, which he then twisted as the tool remained inside of her. In the defense would say that Norris was the actual perpetrator of the murders, and that Bittaker had only become aware of Norris's activities shortly before his arrest, when Norris had informed him he had murdered several girls with whom they had both encountered and engaged in sexual activities. That's wild. Defense tried it. To support their case, the defense produced a friend of Norris named Richard Shoopman, can't read my handwriting, who testified as to Norris reportedly divulging to him that his desire to rape young girls. Shoopman also testified that Norris had informed him that the look of shock and fear on the face of a young girl was a prime sexual stimulation while both were incarcerated at the California Men's Colony in 1977. The most damning evidence presented at Bittaker's trial was a 17-minute section of the audio tape the pair had created of Ledford's abuse and torment. The tape was played in court on January 29th with prosecutor Stephen K. forewarning the jury, for those of you who don't know what hell is like, you will find out before playing the tape.
Man, these boys is wild.
Man. Over 100 people in the courtroom were all brought to tears, leaving the courtroom or holding their heads down as the tape played. On February 5, 1981, Bittaker testified on his own behalf. Bittaker denied on any knowledge in the abduction and murder of Schaefer and claimed he had paid Hall to pose for the Polaroids, saying Hall had agreed to his offer of $200 for sex. He then claimed Norris had walked Hall into the San Gabriel Mountains before returning alone and informing Bittaker he had told Hall to find her own way home. That is a lie. Bittaker had a similar explanation as to the double murder of Lamp and Gillum. He claimed Gillum accepted an offer for money for sex and posing for pictures, and that he had last seen the girls alone with Norris in his van. With regards to the murder of Ledford, he claimed she had agreed to theatrically scream for the tape recorder, and that she was
Man.
that she was not tortured in his presence, but had been left alone with Norris in his van. Bittaker's trial lasted for over 3 weeks. On February 17, 1991. After deliberating for 3 days, the jury found Bittaker guilty of 5 counts of first-degree murder, 1 charge of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, 5 charges of kidnapping, 9 charges of rape, 2 charges of forcible oral copulation, 1 charge of sodomy, and 3 charges of unlawful possession of a firearm. Deliberations as to whether Bittaker should be sentenced to death or life without parole began February 19th. The jury would deliberate for only 90 minutes before they returned with a verdict. Bittaker was sentenced to death for the 5 counts of first-degree murder upon which the prosecution had sought his penalty.
Yeah, they weren't playing.
On his ass.
90 minutes, you out of here, boy.
Rightfully so. He showed no emotion once the verdict was delivered. On March 24th, Bittaker was formally sentenced to death. In the event that the sentence imposed was ever reverted to life imprisonment, Judge Thomas Fredericks imposed an alternative sentence of 199 years, 4 months imprisonment to take immediate effect. That's if they were ever to go against it, so he still wouldn't get out. Bittaker opted his conviction and sentencing appealed his conviction and sentencing, citing procedural errors such as the validity of warrants used to authorize the search of his van and motel room, and the dismissal by the judge of a woman initially hired at the stage of jury selection to advise the defense counsel in matters relating to jury views upon the death penalty. So he tried it. Nonetheless, Bittaker's appeal was dismissed on June 22, 1989, with the court ruling that any procedural errors were minor and, in view of the strong evidence against Bittaker, did not affect the overall verdict.
Right.
An initial execution date for Bittaker was set for December 29, 1989. Bittaker appealed this decision, although on June 11, 1990, the U.S. Supreme Court upheld the decision date. This decision date was scheduled for July 23, 1991. Bittaker again appealed the decision of the U.S. Supreme Court. that he be executed and was granted a further stay of execution on July 1991. Bittaker died while incarcerated on death row at San Quentin State Prison on December 13th, 2019, at the age 79. His death was reported as being due to natural causes. Norris was incarcerated at the Richard J. Donovan Correctional Facility. He died of natural causes at the California Medical Facility on February 24th, 2020, at the age of 72.
Yeah, I like that. They both had to do their time. You know what I'm saying, and died.
In jail.
In jail or
But that
prison,
motherfucker
whatever.
lasted to 2020.
So I like that.
Fuck.
Yeah, dude was just kicking a couple years ago. He was
Man.
still here. Man.
Shit. Yeah, but man, I just want to let y'all know, tune in for that shit. If y'all, once again, if y'all ain't tuned in for part 1 and part 2 of the Toolbox Killer Yard Sleep, is juicy. I recommend Netflix or somebody make this shit a TV series or a doc series. It's not really known like that, but it fucking should be. But yeah.
All right, so I found a little question somebody asked me at work last night. I had to look it up. That's why I was on my phone a minute ago. But say you wait, how's it go? You got to pick 2 animals that would defend you while the rest are coming at you trying to kill you. All right, so 50 eagles, 10 crocodiles, 3 grizzly bears, 7 bulls, 1 human with a gun, 15 wolves, 10,000 rats, 5 gorillas, 4 lions. For the rules, you can only choose 2 to defend you, and the others are coming at you trying to kill you.
My first instinct thinking how a crocodile moves, because crocodiles will hunt you and prey. So I would say they'll stalk you. So I was gonna say crocodile as one of my first picks, and then I just kind of forgot whatever the fuck else you said.
50 eagles, 10 crocodiles, 3 grizzly bears, 7 bulls, 1 human with a gun, 15 wolves, 10,000 rats, 5 gorillas, 4 lions.
Okay, I'm gonna stick with crocodile for sure.
Remember, only 2 groups of these animals, or that 1 human with a gun, can protect you, can help you. Then all the rest of them are coming at you.
Right. I'm gonna say crocodile need 1 in the water and 1 from land, because they're gonna protect, and it's enough of them probably to lions. You said lions, right?
I mean, you gotta assume you're like in a big field or a desert or
somewhere near
wherever you are. You don't want to say you're in water. You don't want to be in water.
I don't want to be in water, but in my mind, I was thinking like forest, rainforest type deals. I was thinking either or, like
right. But the whole thing, but
water and land near each other.
Right. Just okay. But I'm gonna help you a little bit real quick. I'm gonna help you a little bit because so far you starting off rocky, right?
Why am I starting off rocky?
I'm gonna explain something to you. Like okay, like just say this. Say you got the crocodile to help you because they're in water. Crocodiles are strongest when they're in the water, right? So if you're on land and a bear is coming at you, a crocodile is gonna grab that one bear, if it could, get it into the water.
But you can't use that because I could be. It depends on where I'm at, then. So you gotta give me so you should have asked me like if you should have gave me a destination.
Right. So that's what I'm trying to tell you, though. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like even if it's hard, like you're a human, so you don't want to be in water. Just put it like that. You're wherever, but you're a human. So the weakest, you don't want to be in water. So you pick whatever scenario you want to do, but you don't want to be in water though.
I'm not saying it.
Right, and you don't want anything to help you that is strongest in water, because while they're helping you, that pulling whatever into the water.
But if I have both at the same time, why not?
Okay, I'm gonna let you finish. And after I say mine, I'm gonna let you change yours.
No, I don't want to change it. But all right.
All right, just watch. You go see.
I might agree like, oh, I'm not changing my shit, but anyway, and then yeah, because that's what you asked, and everything else is coming at me. So go.
You said crocodiles and what else?
I said the lion.
So you're gonna have 10 crocodiles and 4 lions, right?
Oh, it was only 4 lions.
Yeah. 15 wolves, 10,000 rats, 5 gorillas, 7 bulls, 3 grizzly bears. All right, I'm gonna go. I'm going with. I'm not gonna say my main one. I'm gonna say my main one second, just because I'm gonna have to explain that one because it sounds a little crazy. But explain it though. So one of my shits I'm going with is the 5 gorillas. I'm going with the 5 gorillas first and foremost, right? For obvious reasons, they're indestructible. And then anything that they pound on like this, they can kill, right? So check this out now. Now my second choice sounds a little crazy, But let me explain. And people don't think like this. Let me explain. I'm taking 10,000
I
rats.
knew it. I said the rats. If y'all heard this, I whispered rats.
You got to think about it. You got 10,000 rats, right? You can have 150 rats per animal. Right? So for 50 eagles, you can have 100 and something rats per eagle. You can have 100 something rats per crocodile. So you know what happens? Check me out. Wait, let me tell you. 100 something rats on the human. He gonna drop his gun. You pick his gun up. Now you got a gun to help you. You know what I'm saying? You got a gun now because he
swoop down and get the rats.
Huh?
Eagles could swoop down and get the rats. They could be fucking these rats. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's only 50 eagles. It's 10,000 rats.
I'm just saying they move fast and they can hold a lot. If it's the eagles are huge as fuck. I'm just saying I think they'll get
So I said the rats
unless
because
it's like New York City rats.
Check me out. And we were saying that at work too. When I say rats, they was like, it better be New York City rats. I'm like, yeah, for sure. But check me out. The reason why I say 10,000 rats is because if you have 100 rats on any of these animals, right? None of those animals can attack you while those rats is on it. They're distracted. You know what I'm saying? And then while that's going on, right, the rats is gonna make the human drop his gun.
Oh well, the human never would have been my option any fucking
way. Right. So he drop his gun. Now guess what? You pick his gun up. Now while the rats is 150 rats on each animal, you.
I thought about this.
I'm saying they asked this last night at work, and this is what I told them. They was like, "Damn, P, your ass think like you think like logical as fuck."
But
if you think about it, because like if I say a crocodile, right, it kills animals underwater, so it's gonna be pulling things underwater. Right, so just say you're in water. It can even be that. It's just the amount of if you're in water, then I'm not picking the rats. I'm just saying for your choice though. What matter for what rats can be in water? Never mind, rats can be in water. So I don't know how like how long they be underwater and shit like that. I don't really know. Yeah. So, but yeah, if I'm like in the water, then I think some of these animals wouldn't even want to really come in the water like that. So that kind of makes it a little bit unfair. Hey, I'm thinking like, check me out here. This is why I say not crocodiles. Here we go. Fuck it. Say 10 crocodiles, right? And then say, so it's only 10 of them. So that's 9. Between gorillas and lions, that's 9. And then 3 grizzly bears. All right, so check me out. So it's 13 between those 3. If each crocodile grab one of those and pull to the water, it's still 7 bulls coming at you. That's why I don't say crocodile, because it's not enough of them. Like, if it was like 100 crocodiles, then that's a little more, you know what I'm saying? But it's only 10 of them motherfuckers. You saw some damn dinosaurs. All right, that was a crazy one. But listen, man, it's your homeboy Cuff with the unusual true crimes whoa, talking about with the unusual monsters true crimes podcast. I appreciate y'all. Yeah, say no to drugs. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Make sure y'all check out part 1, part 2. Like, subscribe,
share.
Apple, Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, all that good shit, man. Yeah. Appreciate y'all. Yeah.